Hello, this is Alechius, and welcome back to episode 2 of the tutorial series. We're going to take our ATG 5 and we're going to make it better. Now the first thing I'd like to do is to go into, we could do armor, get more into shaping and armoring. Kind of showed how to do that, and the rough values will work most of the time. Like, you can always slap on more armor. That's very intuitive. And shaping armor can be a difficult task. Because I noticed it was a bit of an issue last time, I'm going to look at the engine and the transmission. Possibly even the tracks. We'll see where we get. I want to keep these episodes fairly short for an overall. First one had to be long because we're roughing up a whole tank. So, first thing we can do, we can keep it basic and just go with a heavy engine. So let's see how that works. Oh, it's definitely faster. It's actually using the third gear, not cycling in and out of it. That one is down. That one is down. Oh yeah, much more mobile already. It had the space, it was heavy. I gotta keep in mind this was early war tech. And there we go. Free striper. There should be one more tank. I'm looking at the red ring on the bottom right. Or progress. There's our one tank left. And then the backstop, which is a tank destroyer or something similar. There we go. Took that one out. Oops. And we can see a lot more mobile. A lot happier with that. Showing off the suspension using the torsion bars. So I think I'm actually going to go in here and shift that to the lighter suspension. Just see how that handles. Yeah, that's a little bit better of a drive. But that's not the focus of this video. So we have a heavy engine. We have plenty of room for it, so why not? Now, the advanced interface can be very intimidating. Let's break it down. You have your mass, your weight, which our engine takes up whopping 8% of our weight. You have the space used, 1 cubic meter, which is a fair bit of the hull. Cylinders, there's a maximum for every era, which is listed in the upper left. We can adjust that as needed. The displacement is per cylinder. So if we have 8 cylinders, 2 liters each, we should have a 16 liter V8. 16 liter V8. Torque in Newton meters. Max RPMs. Smaller cylinders are higher maximums. Larger cylinders are smaller maximums. The target max and minimum. I know tanks were all manual transmissions, but since you don't really get a choice of when to do the shifting and such, that would interfere with the playability of the game because you're one person, not 4. these set where the shift points are. My recommendation is the target max should be 100 less than the max RPM. You can set it. If you're min-maxing, trying to get the most you can possibly get out of your tank, target max at max RPM will work. You'll redline a little bit, and if you have any longer missions, you'll get into that red enough to actually start damaging the engine. But it'll be so slight that it's not a big deal if you want to do that. I don't like seeing red, so I do 2400. Target minimum I would do. There's a lot of philosophy, and it depends on how you set up your transmission. As a rough number, I would use 1/3 to 2/3 of your maximum, which would be 8 to 1600, somewhere in that range. 1500 works for that. I'm just going to leave it. Power. This changes nothing. It is informational. How much power is this engine producing at 2400 RPMs? Producing 363 horsepower, and it gives us 27 horsepower per ton. We lower it to say 1, we get 3000 RPM, then we get 227 horsepower with 17 horsepower per ton. So that's what that is for. Idle settings, so what the engine idles at, and then fuel consumed is also a informational only. You can set this for however much distance you want. 125 liters consumed. We have way more fuel than we really need, unless we want to go 200 kilometers on a tank of fuel. So hopefully that all makes sense so far. Right now, we're gonna test the engine with the new RPM settings. I'm looking in the upper left to see what the RPMs are at when they're shifting. Not using second gear much. That's normal. Took a penetrating hit. That was penetrating as well. Off to the side. I did get a little forward of the friendlies. Now we're bouncing some. Got that guy in one. And our loader is down. That one is down. That one is down. So we have one in the depression down there, and then we have one up on the hill, which I'm not sure if he's still active. Not anymore, he isn't. And we lost that time. Can't win them all, and I got way ahead of the friendlies. I will tell you, 34 horsepower per... Nope. We're at this point. 27 horsepower per ton. That's pretty zippy. That's a good tank. Now, we could go down, and we've got 14 horsepower per ton, or we could reduce that way, get 17, 200, 15. Removing cylinders reduced the amount of weight more than reducing the size of the cylinders individually. Let's go to 0.75, but I'm going to go with, I like having more RPM to play with. It helps with the transmission, me personally. Might be a bias because of micro tank experiments early on. So we're getting 13.4 horsepower per ton. It's not great. We're looking for 11 to 2200 RPMs. I'll just go with half. So 1650. Then we have, oh no, the engine's still pretty decent. That one is down. Nobody flanking to the left. New target up here somewhere. There he is. He's down. That one's down. That one down already? It appears to be down. He's down. He's sniper wolf back there. Yeah, that was everybody except the one at the very end. Very lucky that time. Now, the transmission is interrelated with the engine. I usually tweak these together very frequently. The engine being a dominant force in the beginning, transmission being a dominant force in the end. But no buts. We'll get into the transmission. This will be engine and transmission together. Now, things I like to look at is upper left. When are we hitting max speed? Are we cycling between first and third gear like we did there for a little bit? How frequently are we doing so? How much of our RPMs are we using? Now, we have it set for 3300 and 1650. Anybody who's been with my channel for a little while knows I like to spreadsheet stuff. So, if we look at something I made on the side here, we're looking at 3300 RPMs, and I did not label this for public use. I was just using this last night. These are the ratios, and then shift RPMs. And here, let me get some styling in here. This is an input. These are all inputs. These are all outputs. And don't worry about the divide by zeros. So if we have 3 gears, actually, you know what? I'm going to throw in 4. We'll do 4. 4 is a good number. So 5 is our first one. If you just want to make this super easy, just do half. And then go from there. 5.5, 1.25, 0.675, which I can tell you already, that's too short of a bottom gear. We're never using 4th gear right now. Which maybe we only need 3 gears. Alright, let's get cruising, keep going. See how it's cycling back and forth. So if we look at the spreadsheet again, it's shifting at about that RPM level, 1650. Which is right where we're at. We're shifting back and forth between two gears pretty frequently. Usually means you need to lower the minimum RPM to leave it in gear a little bit. Really? I'm trying to tutorial here. And so now it's doing less shifting. That is one way to solve it. The other way, as you see it's still doing it a little bit here, is to lengthen the gears some. So if we go like this, we go... No, we want less of a difference between the two gears. So say something like that. You don't have a problem with the first one, but the second and third, we're cycling between pretty frequently. Yes, yes, we have a side guy. Let me go. So it's staying in gear for longer before shifting, and that's what we're looking for. Got that one on the bounce. So is that perfect? By no means, and there are much different ways to go about that. If you're curious, that's just the RPMs, those are the ratios that you see right there. This is literally just taking the previous gear, the current gear, ratio, and dividing it into the RPM. So RPMs, I'll do it new. It's crystal clear. We want to take RPMs, we want to divide that by the end value of the previous divided by the current. 1584 RPMs. Nice and easy. So yeah, there's my RPM ratio and shift RPMs. We've got a value in there. I think possibly going down a pair of cylinders. Let's see how this works. We'll make ATG5 V8. Then we'll make the V6 version. So we are producing 175 horsepower at peak. Let's drop it down. Go up to, say, 1 liter. That's 170, and it's a lot lighter. .1, that too much? That gives us a little bit more power for a very similar weight. 191, 181. Yeah, let's go with the 1.2 liter. So we have the 7.2 liter V6. Bring this down to 2800, bring this down to 1400. We'll see how it handles with the gear ratios we already have. And peak speed is somewhere in 30 kilometers per hour range, which is reasonable, and overland it's going to do 10 to 15 for the most part. There we go. took that one out. So there you go. That's how I generally tweak engines and transmissions together to achieve a set goal, and I actually like the V6 more than the V8. With that, I would like to hear feedback, how this is working out for you if you're following along. That's the engine tutorial. Appreciate you staying till the end. Please leave a comment, let me know what you think. I will see you all next time. Take care, everyone.